Hi. So, of course, eventually there was going to be an education video. And here we are, education time. So this isn't about sort of, talking about going to the best schools, even though I am wearing a Harvard t-shirt. It's not about our academic achievements. It's not about what you can hope for your children in terms of academics. It's actually about a whole education that we seem to miss out on at school, and where I am very, very, very passionate on getting this message into schools. So let's start. Let's start with you, whoever lands on this video. So the way it works is that we go to school, and sometimes to the best schools, and we get the best grades, and then we embark on a very ambitious life. And what tends to happen a lot, is that we tick the lists. We start ticking the lists, and we've done the schooling, and we've got the great job, and we're getting the bonuses, and we've got the beautiful house, and we've got the partner that has the right CV, and we've got the 2.2 kids, and it's kind of like we're ticking along. And then we, at some point or another, we realize that we're actually not happy. And this isn't a sort of existential crisis of, like, sort of uh, here I am, I have everything, and I should be grateful, and why am I not grateful? I'm not talking that kind of thing, because I've done videos on gratitude, and you can have all of this and be grateful for it, and be very grateful for your healthy children, and for your wonderful partner, and be grateful for the work that supports you and that pays you, and where you're good, and so. But I'm talking about happiness, which is um, it's not a ha 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 he he kind of happiness, because I don't feel that's the end goal. I feel that the end goal is about living a life that feels true to us, feeling like this isn't a dress rehearsal. I've come here, and I want to reach the end and look back on it, and feel satisfied with my journey. And journeys are very individual. They are completely individual, because uh, for someone, their success might be to live on a cabin in the middle of the woods and write. And for someone else, their success might be, to be invited to all the Red Cross balls across town. And the success for one would be the other one's nightmare, and vice versa. So I'm talking here about just our own knowledge of how we're doing, our own feelings of being connected with our life journey. And sometimes what happens is that we can be, kind of ticking along, and there's no time to even think about it. But we know we're not quite enjoying it. That's something that is prevail is kind of like in the background in terms of, like, how we're feeling. So we know when we're on track, and we know when we're not. And usually, what happens is life will help us out. So, if we're really off track, life will create something that will slow us down, so that we have time to reflect. I remember Tony Robbins, I think, said something like, when it's going well, we party. And we need to, basically, it's the other moments where we get to ponder. And that's it. So, life, if we're not, addressing that sort of why isn't it that it doesn't make sense bit, um, then life will either basically offer us a slap in the form of a health issue, a relationship crisis, a financial crisis, something that will get us to sort of think there's got to be another way. This is like, and but we can address that even before. I mean, the reason I call this video education is because Montessori type education is based on um, intrinsic interests. So, Dr. Maria Montessori was a physician before she went into the world of education. And she discovered through her experience that children are born with intrinsic interest. So you can have a room full of exciting things. But a kid who is drawn to a certain something will be drawn to that certain something over and no matter how many exciting shiny objects are around the room, he might kind of explore, check it out, but go straight back to what interests him. And so we tend to, which is great news for us, we tend to come into the world with something that actually is coming from within us. And that's the thing, that even if you've missed out on a Montessori education, that's the thing that you're checking out now, that you're kind of Google searching about, or that really lights you up. If you're going to spend time with it, or on it, or about it, or so there's going to be things that truly light us up, and they probably would have lit us up at 5, and they're going to continue lighting us up for the rest of our life. So what I'm interested in is that we actually get to create our life. And this is the education that I'm talking about in this video. So I'm talking about we can get a school education, and we can get all the degrees in the world, and we can live a life that's off track. And I find that quite concerning. I find that quite amazing. And it's a little bit, I'm talking my own sort of autobiography here, because that's what happened to me. I went to the best schools. I got headhunted straight from college. I got headhunted from, bank to bank. I was pretty successful in my career. But I knew at the deepest level this wasn't it. None of it was it. And it took a lot of courage. It required a lot of courage. And I would say even beyond courage, I would say I had to do it. I kind of had to do it. It was that, or I was heading towards a health issue. And I took action, and I, went back to university and started all over again with what was truly interesting to me, what was the thing that I was saving to do later on in my life. I kind of just thought, no, I have to get on with it now. I mean, what am I waiting for? And I will tell you that I continued, life continued to offer me certain lessons, and quite big ones, and I definitely had to ponder. It wasn't party time after that. But what I discovered through this all is that there's an education of the mind that no one teaches us about in life. And unless we hit those kind of crises, health issues, etc., and we really, we want to make it, we actually want to sort of get past whatever this issue is. And then we go in search of ways to do it. And now, the big medical schools are confirming the power of our mind to heal our bodies. And the power of the mind allows us to recreate, to create in the first place. I mean, if we learned this as kids, how much easier it would be to just be equipped in the same way that you get to learn a bit about, history and geography. I mean, why are we not learning about the power of our mind? And it's amazing how few people actually are aware of this. I mean, some of the most intelligent, most successful people are not aware of how much they can actually create using their mind. We get to imagine it and create it. We get to affirm it with our words and create it. We get to celebrate it and create it. It's just like unbelievable to me that this information exists out in the world. And one, that the children are not learning it. And two, that the adults don't know about it. I mean, the most successful, intelligent people are not aware of this. So I just, I would rather pass this message out and say, before you hit a crisis and have to go in search of this and find your secret, the secret, why aren't we learning about it? I mean, why are we not exploring this? And why are we not using it? Why are we not using this power that our mind is? So the way it goes is like this. The mind cannot distinguish between what's real and what's imagined. That's what neuroscience teaches us. And so, if we have an idea, okay, so then let's backtrack for a sec. Most people are living life without precise goals. So they're kind of they got caught into it, basically. They went to university, they went to school, they went to whatever their education standard is. And then they got caught by life, by the job, the mortgage, the kids' education, and so on. And so the difference between those who are succeeding and getting what they want and then inspiring us to be reading about them and quoting them is that they had a plan. They made up their minds of what they wanted out of their life. And they went in a very concerted effort to get it, using everything that was possible. So basically, the difference between someone who's successful, who's made it on his, and I'm talking success on your terms. So whatever it represents success for you. Because like I said, success is a very individual journey. But we know what we want if we actually allow ourselves the time to figure it out. So we know the deepest level. Like we have a sort of image that's probably been floating in our mind and in our body since we were like teenagers. But once we start to get a little bit more precise, and it takes a little bit of time to start putting the ideas down. Things like vision boards help a lot. You just create, you buy yourself a vision board and you start putting pictures of things that you would like to happen, your goals, your own personal goals. And I'm not talking just material, I'm also talking about the feelings that you'd like to feel along the way, because, building an empire and then having a health issue at the end because you didn't look after your health, you didn't exercise enough and eat healthy enough. That's not really a success for me. It doesn't need to be one extreme or the other. So anyway, this video is about mind power, and it begins the conversation. I'm going to be doing individual videos on each of the subjects that I touched on. We're going to look at creative visualization and how to do it, so we can begin to imagine our goals. So we begin to subliminally pass the messages to the mind, which will then get taken into our subconscious. And again, like I said, no differentiation between what's imagined and what's real. So eventually, with enough repetition, which is how the brain works, the imagined becomes the real. So we'll do affirmations. We'll do the creative visualization, like I mentioned. We will do seeding exercises. Planting the seeds, preparing, because when you plant a seed, you water it, you look after it, you make sure the area is ready for the blossom, and it's what we have to do with our own goals as well. And I'm going to be sharing quite a lot on the entrepreneurial journey, which I'm finally getting to grips with, because for a long time I would think I'm unmotivated or I'm this or I'm that. And it's actually part of the whole cyclical thing of what happens. And this is where the mindset and how we program our minds becomes very, very important in terms of our creation and in terms of getting through it, because it's the belief that will carry us through, the same way as an athlete would succeed by bringing the images into his mind, creating the mindset to support the physical experience. And we're gonna break them up and do them one by one. But eventually what this requires, and this is what's very important, and this is what I get asked about all the time, is, people feel very motivated and inspired and they get on with it, and then it kind of like waits for a while. And motivation and inspiration is something that we have to tap into daily, because like I said, the mind requires repetition. So if you do this huge work on Sunday and you revisit it again the next Sunday, it's not going to work. It literally needs to be, even if it's a 5-minute project, 5-minute visualization or a 5-minute affirmation session or whatever, it needs to happen on a daily basis. So we need to tap, we need to retap into motivation, into inspiration, into mind power. We need that bit to be on board to create the life that we want, because we don't want it to be, and this is what I had for quite a few years, and this is why I feel very strongly now about sharing the tools, because what I had was that I would work on it, so I'd be in full, affirmation visualizations. I'd have affirmations and post-its all over my home, all over my diary, all over everywhere, and I would manifest. Exactly what I had on my goal list. And then I'd be quite satisfied. So I'd be in, as Tony Robbins called it, the party mode. And I wasn't partying, but I was, relaxing about all of this work. And then I would like hit another point where I had to kind of start all over again. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to share with you the technique of keeping this motivation, inspiration on a daily basis, so that there is no catching up, there's no lag effect, we are on it, and we're tapping into it every day. We're waking up in the morning with our goal plan, with what we need to do. And anyway, so a lot to go. It's kind of like a new phase. I'm starting a whole new page on Facebook to create a community so that we can all support each other as we go through this. And I know, I know that having been in the finance world, and I know a lot of the sort of more left brain community, the lawyers and the doctors, we're not the biggest sort of social media, let's share our story here. And even me, it's like every time I'm about to comment, I kind of think about it 10 times. And I think that comes from the work we did, and maybe the personalities that work draws as well. We tend to be more kind of thoughtful of our actions and more. But it doesn't matter. Even if at first you kind of just are just glancing through just to see a little bit what this is about and what this kind of journey would entail, that's okay, because I wanted to be at people's leisure. I mean, it took me a long time to be able to come out and share my story as well so publicly. But it doesn't matter. That it's not about that. And I know it's also a cultural thing. I know in the US, people tend to be much more, open about sharing their stories, and I think that comes from just the experience of also having, people to talk to, therapists and so on. It's very normal in the States. You have a hairdresser and you have a therapist, whereas in Europe it tends to be very different, and certainly in the UK it's still like a very big deal. And coaching is just beginning, and I'm glad I'm here. I'm here at the right time to grow my business, but. So this is just to say, just be relaxed with yourself. And it's not like a community as in you have to be sharing your stories. It's a community so that at any point you need a page like that. And it came from my own experience. I was actually looking for a page like that and I couldn't find it. And I thought, how can there not be something like that? So I decided to create it. I decided to create the page that I would want to look at after a full day of work. And I know that, as a banker, had I known of this whole kind of way of living and way of existing, it would have helped me a lot. And I remember when I was talking to some banker friends of mine and saying, can you get me an appointment with your bank so that I can come and like talk this stuff? And they were like, well, what if you come in and everybody leaves, goes off to do what they love? And I thought, well, that's really good news for the banks, because then they can have the people who really want to be there. And I have friends who really want to be bankers. They love it. I mean, they love what they do. And I mean, good, that's the way it should be. You don't want people who are floating around who have other things that their heart would like them to go and do, and where they could really do well and touch us with what they create and what they do. So I feel like life is this puzzle, and we each have like a piece, a very specific piece that we fill. And unless we find that thing, we're never going to really feel good, no matter how many, shiny objects and great things we've surrounded ourselves with. Until we feel that we're filling this little piece of the puzzle that is really us, we're not on track. And I think it's our duty, it's our job to find it. And the same way Oprah said, you're one of your jobs in this lifetime, or your main job in this lifetime, is to find your passion. Do whatever it takes to figure out what it is that just lights you up, that doesn't feel like work, that you would just like can't wait to get up and share with the world. And my mission in life is to just pass on this information, to inspire you, to empower you, that you get to live a life that lights you up.